Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and this zombie team update where I'm going to look at the zombie team that I selected at the start of the season and see how it's been doing so far. Spoilers, not so well, but yeah, if you're unfamiliar with what a zombie team is, it's basically where you pick a team in Game Week 1 that's going to last you all the way through Game Week 38 without a single transfer, a single captaincy change, a single rotation. You basically just leave the team be and just let it be by itself and see what it grows into. And yes, we're going to take a look at my own team here, the team that I picked at the start of the season that I thought would be the best team across the whole season. But I know probably the main reason you clicked on this video is the fact that you want to see what the ideal zombie team would look like after 20 game weeks, which is basically halfway through the season. And yeah, we're going to get into it straight away. And spoilers, it's really, really good. So yeah, let's just go straight into the team basically, which is the best zombie team, at least from what I can gather so far this season. So yeah, this is it. Here you have it. The team that would be #1 overall rank in the world. If you just picked this squad in Game Week 1 and just left it until now, you'd be #1 in the world and you'd be 49 points ahead of #1 in total. And this is with all your chips left, even without using the first wildcard chip at all. And without using the triple captain chip, without using the bench boost chip, without using the free hit chip, all those would be available to you. You'd obviously have 0 transfers made so far. You'd have 0 changes made, 0 captaincy changes made so far. And this would have been a really, really, really good squad with 1,405 points. But obviously, there's a lot of luck involved. If you look at the bench, Wood, Anderson, and Gusto, they have had some amazing game weeks. And you're really lucky to have exactly those game weeks be the game weeks where you have first 11 squad players out for that game. So that's pretty much the case with Anderson. He had a really good start to the season, and basically with Mykolenko and Chimikas in the squad, they are not playing at the start of the season because, yeah, we didn't expect them to play at the start of the season. But as we know, both Mykolenko and Chimikas were really good options at some point this season, especially during that Game Week 9 through Game Week 15 period. Both those guys played all the time and had really high scores and were really, 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 really good. So that's why they're in the starting lineup. But yeah, so there are a lot of lucky instances like that. There's also a couple of players that have been just really nice season keepers in general. Obviously, Salah has been the best player so far this season in FPL, and a lot of people didn't have him at the start of the season. A lot of people went without him in Game Week 1. Most of the people that are in the top 10 overall now had Salah from the start of the season, and me, myself, also had Salah from the start of the season. I actually made a video before the start of the season saying that he was a really important player to have at the start of the season. And yeah, I'm really happy about that, that prediction for the season at least. Trent as well, obviously, he's been amazing lately. He's basically now like a template pick, but he was for the longest time someone that you would avoid. But yeah, it just shows out that he has been a really good player this whole season as well. So yeah, this team is within the budget of 100 million. Compared to what they were, what the value was at the start of the season, obviously. It comes in at exactly 100 million, I think. If you put up the prices of every player, Areola being 4.0 at the start of the season, Pickford 4.5, Trent 8, Salah 12.5, Haaland 14, and so forth. But put together, all these players, these 15 players, turn out to be a 100 million squad, which is the best squad basically you could have had if you had just let it be from Game Week 1 onwards. So yeah, just to comment a little bit more on the team, it's kind of interesting to see the goalkeepers, Areola and Pickford. That was probably the ideal goalkeeper combo that most people picked at the start of the season. But I know a lot of people have had Pickford this season, a lot of people have had Areola this season, and you don't feel the same about these players that you should feel compared to what you see here, because they've actually been the best rotation pair this season. Because Areola has been basically the best value goalkeeper this season, which is kind of crazy because a lot of people have had him since Game Week 8, and he was really bad from that point of the season. And then people potentially sold him or benched him the last few game weeks when he's been amazing. But yeah, at the start of the season and at the end of the season, so far, Areola has been amazing and getting a lot of points. And also in that 3-game sort of game week, I think it was Game Week 16 through 18 or something like that, Areola didn't play. And that's when Pickford had 3 really good game weeks in a row. So that was actually the best combination. For only 9.5, you could have a really good goalkeeper combination scoring you a total of, 97 points, which is more than, it's like 12 points more than Alisson, who's 5.5. So yeah, really good goalkeeper combination. And yeah, I know a lot of people will be kicking themselves seeing those two basically scoring that many points because yeah, they have been really popular players this season, but they just haven't delivered when you've played them this season. So I think that goes to show when it comes to goalkeepers, you can't really predict what's going to happen with goalkeepers. For example, with Areola, he's had a couple tough matches against Man United and Arsenal. Well, Man United's not the toughest fixture, but on paper at least, fixtures where you wouldn't really start a goalkeeper, but he's kept a clean sheet in those games and had a lot of saves, obviously, because it's against a better team. And then he gets a lot of points from those games. So I think goalkeepers are just really hard to predict. Like sometimes they get a 12-pointer from a game which is considered to be really tough, like away against Arsenal, for example. Wouldn't really expect Areola to get a lot of points there, but he did. So yeah, I think goalkeepers are just really tough to predict, and I think just staying with your goalkeepers and just like keeping faith in them is basically what's going to help you in the end. Because if you had stuck it out with Pickford from the start of the season, he would have been a pretty good goalkeeper for you. If you'd stuck it out with Areola, he would have been a pretty good goalkeeper for you. It's just they have those spurts where they play really badly, and then they have spurts where they play really well, and that just happens basically every season. We saw it last season as well with Ward and Everson, and or especially Ward for Leicester. He was absolute dog shit at the start of the season. Sorry for cursing even, but yeah, for the first like 8 game weeks, he was really, really bad. And then when most people had sold him, he went on a really good run of like 4 or 5 games in a row where he scored a lot of points. So I think with goalkeepers, you just leave them be and basically spend the least amount of time, the least amount of money on them, and then I think you're going to be fine. When it comes to defenders, we've seen that, there's a lot of value in the 4.5 defenders this season, because obviously they're going to keep a couple clean sheets. It's the lowest possible price apart from 4.0, but you even have Gusto there for 4.0 getting 30 points off the bench, basically filling in. I think it's like game week 19 where he got 8 points and game week 3 where he got 14 points. That's basically the bulk of his points so far this season. And as a third bench guy, that really helps you with the points. Other than that, you can see also in midfield, having really premium players or kind of cheap options is basically the way to go this season so far. Salah has been obviously amazing. You needed him in your squad. Son has been really good as well for 9 million, been a really good pick. Bowen as well, 7 million. Back to his best, back to his 200 plus points season that he had 2 seasons ago as well. Hwang Hee-chan has been a huge surprise to me, at least. I did not expect him to score basically every game week, but he's been an amazing player, and I think he's also someone you should look to consider for game week 26 game week 26 as well, as a replacement for either Salah or Jota if you want to sell those guys before they blank in game week 26 and potentially game week 29 as well. I think Hwang has been just a fantastic pick. I had him for a couple of game weeks this season as well, and he scored 14 beautiful points for me in game week, game week 19? Or 18 even. 19 it was. So yeah, really good pick. Palmer, obviously, the best value pick in the game still at this moment in time. If you don't have him already in your squad, bring him in now because he's been absolutely fantastic, and I suspect that he's going to be in the best zombie squad at the end of the season as well. And we're going to keep up with the zombie squad basically throughout the season, look at the best potential zombie squad at the next potential point, which is probably around game week 27, 28 or something like that. I think I'm going to make another video about this after we've gone through a couple of double game weeks and stuff. But yeah, really good team in general. Watkins has been amazing value, of course. He's gone up in price from 8.0 to like 8.8 or 8.9 I think now, which is kind of funny because at the start of the season, I remember when the game launched and he was priced at 8 million, people thought that was too high, but he's proven that that's been too low actually. Like he's been absolutely fantastic. And yeah, again, a player, if you had stuck it out with him from game week 1 onwards, you would have probably had that game week 6, was it? 23 pointer, which was really amazing. I think most of the players that are currently ranked in the top 10 basically had Watkins for that 23 pointer in game week 6. I think that was a pretty pivotal moment in the season if you wanted to score really highly, but a lot of people had sold Watkins by that point, even if they started the game with him in game week 1. But as you can see, sometimes there is value to just leaving your squad as it is. From this squad, you would have had 1,405 points, which is 195 points more than my team. I'm doing transfers every week, trying to optimize the team with the best captain, the best squad, with the best players for those upcoming game weeks. And as you can see, it would have been a lot easier if I just picked this squad, but obviously really tough to predict that Mykolenko would play and score a lot of goals, that Chimikas would play because Robertson got injured. Obviously, it's hindsight, but yeah, that's the fun of it, I guess. 49 points out of number 1, which is super crazy to me, at least. But it's going to be interesting, especially now with the next few game weeks, basically from game week 21 through game week 29, or even throughout the end of the season. We're going to have blank game weeks, going to have double game weeks. And that's obviously going to be a detriment to the zombie squad because you can't really sell players when they blank and then buy players when they double. That's basically the biggest advantage to doing transfers all the time. So yeah. But it does not have to end like this. If you pick a zombie squad at the start of the season, mostly it's going to fail because, it's really tough to predict who's going to be the best players throughout 38 game weeks in game week 1 Cole Palmer, for example, he was a City player at the start of the season. Before Game Week 1, he was a City player. He played for City in Game Week 1, 2, and 3, I think, before he moved to Chelsea. So yeah, really hard to predict that he was going to go to Chelsea and become this absolutely amazing player that we've seen so far this season. But yeah, this is the best zombie squad, at least from what I can gather throughout the first 20 game weeks. There's probably a better combination of players where you get more points off the bench or something like that, but it's pretty optimized in terms of the players that have gotten a lot of points and players that have gotten really high points per match. So for example, Mikolenko and Chimikas haven't started all games. This goes for Gusto as well. They haven't started all games, but they have really good points per match, especially in a couple of areas. For example, Gusto is someone that has really good points per match in specific game weeks. And the same goes with Wood as well. He also has a couple of really high scoring game weeks that were reflected in the squad because, yeah, we had a couple of absentees sometimes with the squad. So Wood comes in with, for example, that 17-pointer when he got that hat-trick pretty late in the season. He got those points as well. But yeah, that's basically been the best zombie squad so far this season. I thought it was pretty interesting to look at, pretty interesting to work out the most amount of points. But maybe you can do better. Maybe you can find a zombie squad that would have been better. That would be nice. I know there are some people that have like sort of algorithms and stuff to figure this out. There's probably a way to get even more points from a zombie squad, but this is the best that I could go with, and I just basically tried to get ahead of 1,405 or 1,400 points. That was my goal, to get ahead of that, and I managed to find a squad that had more points than that. So yeah, happy to see that basically. But yeah, that is the best zombie squad. Now let's take a look at my zombie squad and pick it up from where we left it off last time in the previous video I made on the zombie squad, which was in game week 12 going into game week 13. So let's see what happened with my squad from game week 13. So this is what I predicted at the start of the season, or at least this is my squad in game week or from game week 1. Madison, Chilwell, and Estepinian obviously been injured, so they're on the bench or they've been subbed off in this game week 13. But I basically had Chilwell, Madison, and Estepinian starting, and Alvarez, Joe Pedro, and Udogie as my 3 bench players from game week 1 onwards. Other than that, Onana and Turner in goal, which is going to be interesting now, especially if Turner keeps his place, because Onana is going to go to the African Cup of Nations. That's going to be interesting to see how it does now, currently. But yeah, we'll talk more about my future prospects with the zombie squad at the end of this video. By the way, game week 13. Decent game week, I guess. 64 points, 9 points from Onana, 13 points from Joao Pedro off the bench. Really nice to see that as well. Joao Pedro is actually someone that was really close to making the actual best zombie squad as well, because obviously he's had a couple of really good game weeks, like for example game week 13 where he got 13 points, and game week 19 where he got 16 points. So I wish I would been able to get that into the best zombie squad, but I didn't have that 0.5 necessary to go from Wood to Joao Pedro, and I don't know exactly if I would have had Joao Pedro cover those game weeks in that zombie squad either way, but maybe the best potential Joao Pedro or the best potential zombie squad would have had Joao Pedro in the squad. I don't know. But yeah, 13 points from him in this game week, and that's really nice as well. Rashford and Saka, who are going to be pretty bad picks eventually in the zombie squad, with 8 points each. Really nice from them. Haaland, 7 points times 2, 14 points as captain. Obviously, the zombie squad, I did not have Salah in the zombie squad, which is kind of a bad decision for me, because Salah is always basically one of the best value players, regardless of how pricey he is. I've made videos in the past looking through the best zombie squads throughout the last few seasons as well, from last season all the way through 17-18 zombie squad, I think. And I think in like 5 out of the 6 zombie squads of the season, basically Salah has made it, despite being the most expensive player in the game. So yeah, Salah is just always really good value, and Haaland as well has proven to be really good value. But yeah, if you compare the best zombie squad to this zombie squad, I basically only have Haaland, and that's pretty much it compared to the best potential zombie squad. So yeah, not so good so far, but yeah, really tough to predict. As you can see, I could not really predict the injuries to Madison, Chilwell, and Estepinian, especially Estepinian, who has not really been that injury prone either in the past. But yeah, this was my game week 13 squad for the zombie squad. 64 points, not too bad, but there's going to be some really bad game weeks coming up pretty soon with the zombie squad. Game week 14, the same squad, because yeah, obviously Madison, Chilwell, and Estepinian were injured for a long time at this period. Now Chilwell is on his way back and Madison on his way back, but game week 13, well, basically game week, game week 8 onwards, they've been injured just about, these players. Madison was injured in game week 11, Estepinian was injured in game week 7, I think, and Chilwell was injured around that time as well. So yeah, but luckily, as I predicted before the start of the season, you would need a pretty strong bench to cover those game weeks where you have potential injuries and stuff. So I do have some decent replacements at least, but maybe not this week with 5 points from Alvarez, 4 points from Joe Pedro, and 0 points from Udogie. But yeah, it's important to have a good bench when you pick a zombie squad, basically. Yeah, 45 points, not the best game week, but again, not the worst either. Another 8 points from Saka, which is pretty decent, but he's going to drop off quite a bit from this point onwards. Haaland again with 7 points as the captain. Alvarez with 5 points, like I said, and Joao Pedro with 4 points. Diaby with 4 points as well, coming off the bench, getting an assist. This was when I sold him in my own team, I think, game week 14. And Diaby came on and got an assist and got 4 points in that game week, I remember. But yeah, the defense, pretty much shambles. Guardiola, 0 points. Udogie, 0 points. Gabriel, 2 points. Not the best defense, I think, in game week 14. Game week 15 with the zombie squad, same substitutions as always, and this time Alvarez, Joao Pedro, and Udogie all blanked. 28 points in total, which is really, really bad. The only performing players basically were Saka with 5 points and Martinelli with 7 points. Even Haaland, the captain, blanked, got 2 points, and which means 4 points as the captain. And apart from that, you basically just have players blanking. So 28 points from game week 15. I think game week 15 was a pretty bad game week in general for most people, but yeah, 28 points is obviously something that you don't really like to see. So yeah, 28 points from the zombie squad in game week 15. Game 16, and we have actually Haaland being subbed off because yeah, he's the captain, so he has to be subbed off rather than subbing off Madison. I haven't, yeah. But yeah, the team pretty bad this game week as well. Udogie with 9 points, which is nice to see coming off the bench. He's been a decent player this season. Not as good as I predicted. I thought he was going to be really good, but Pedro Porro has actually been the better fullback from Spurs. But obviously Udogie is also 0.5 cheaper, so that's why I pretty much selected him at the start of this season. But yeah, not the best. Martinelli as vice captain as well. I don't know why I picked him as vice captain rather than going with someone more obvious like Saka, for example. But yeah, 4 points from him, blanking as the vice captain in this game week, which is pretty terrible with 29 points. Once again, pretty bad game week. Game week 17, 10 points from Onana, which is interesting to see. Onana has actually been like one of the better picks from my zombie squad, which is kind of strange because I selected him in my own squad as well in game week 1. And I basically sold him in game week 3 because I just didn't have faith in Man United defensively. But he's actually been a decent goalkeeper so far, but Areola has actually been better as we saw previously. So yeah, but Areola with 10, or Onana with 10 points for this game week, 36 points in total. Again, Haaland gets subbed off. This is at the point of the season where Haaland has been injured. He's still injured currently as we speak, but he's been out since game week 16. So that means he goes out and Martinelli is vice captain, which is not the best because this is the point of the season where Arsenal have struggled a bit as well. So I wish I'd picked a different vice captain. But as you can see from the rest of the team, not really that many good players to choose from. Diaby was looking like a much better pick at the start of the season than he's looking like now. He's more of a rotation risk, not looking as good. Joao Pedro, on the other hand, is looking better and better by the day, but now he's probably not going to come into the squad in the next few game weeks because Madison is on his way back and Chilwell is on his way back and Estupiñán is back as well. So probably a bit more difficult for Joao Pedro to get into the squad, especially seeing as I don't have Salah or Son in this squad who are going to African Cup of Nations and stuff instead. Yeah, 6 points for Gabriel. That's pretty much it. Udogie 5 points. Martinelli 3 points as my captain times 2, which is 6. 36 points in total for this zombie squad in game week 17, which is not the best. But yeah, let's move on to game week 18. Game week 18, the 10-pointer from Gabriel scoring against Liverpool. Really nice to see that at least. I had that in my own squad as well for my own personal team, which was really nice to see. But apart from that, blanked all around. Once again, blanks from vice captain Martinelli with 4 points. And again, don't have enough players to start. So both Estupiñán and Madison, who were not ready to play in this game week, basically just had to stay on the pitch. And yeah, really tough with game week 18 where you had the blanks for City, obviously. And Udogie was out, suspended as well, so not the best game week. Game week 19, 45 points. Joao Pedro with 16 points, like I mentioned earlier. That's basically saving the game week because apart from him, pretty bleak. Estupiñán came back, got 6 points on his return with a goal. Really nice to see. Estupiñán, I think, was like my favorite pick at the start of the season out of basically everyone. All of these picks I quite liked, obviously, because I picked them for the zombie squad. But Estupiñán has like always been like a favorite of mine. And I think it was a really good pick. It's just been he's been really fortunate with injuries, and I think he was unfortunate to not get more points at the start of the season as well. So pretty excited to have him in my own FPL team currently. And I think a lot of people will be envious of that while they have to navigate more like midfield and City and Liverpool picks going forward, and they can't really fit in Estupiñán in the same time frame. But yeah, I think Estupiñán is a really good pick, and he showed that on his return, scoring a goal, getting 6 points. But apart from that, again, pretty bleak. The only returns were from João Pedro with 16 points, Alvarez with 8 points as well, with Haaland away from the game. And that's pretty much my reasoning for picking Alvarez at the start of the season for the zombie squad, because I knew if Haaland was going to get injured, Alvarez was going to play that number 9 role, and that would be really helpful for him. And this is the game where he actually got the penalty when he started as a striker in Haaland's absence. So he got 9 points from that, at least, or 8 points he got from that. Rashford also with an assist, 5 points from him. He's been a terrible pick. I had a lot of faith in him before the start of the season, but he's just been really bad. Man United have been really bad in general, and as you can see, the Arsenal double up in midfield and then having Rashford as well didn't really pay off this season, as we all know from playing this game and from the start of the season, when a lot of people had double Man United and double Arsenal midfields, which didn't really work out at all. But yeah, 45 points from this game week. Then we go on to game week 20, which is currently the latest game week that we've had. Martinelli actually got an assist this game week, so as the vice captain, he got 10 points, which is nice to see. Estupiñán with 6 points with a clean sheet against West Ham. Guardiola finally with a clean sheet as well. I thought he was going to be a more nailed player for City, and I thought he was going to keep more clean sheets as well for City this season, but that just hasn't been the case for Guardiola. He's been more rotation risk than I expected, and Walker has actually been the player that has played pretty much every game week. But even then, I don't think Walker has been that good of a pick this season either, because yeah, City defenders just don't get that many points apart from the occasional clean sheet, which is not even that common for what it should be for Man City, because yeah, they struggle a bit with keeping clean sheets, even though they have basically the best defense in the league, or one of the best defenses in the league, I think. But yeah, they just struggle with clean sheets in general. But this game week was not the worst, actually, game week 20, but this was obviously a really high-scoring game week in general for most people playing FPL. If you had Palmer, for example, who we saw in the best zombie squad, he got 18 points this game week, which was really nice for anyone that had him starting. I did not, sadly. I benched him. But yeah, 56 points is still not the worst game week, especially seeing as this is a zombie squad and we don't have the likes of Palmer, who we couldn't really foresee at the start of the season being a really good FPL pick. But yeah, 7 points from Diaby, 7 points from Salka, 7 points from Rashford, 7 points from Alvarez as well. And that helps us get 56 points in game week 20. So yeah, as you can see, some pretty bad game weeks for the zombie squad. Some pretty bad picks as well for the zombie squad. Diaby is not looking quite as good and quite as sharp as he did at the start of the season. He's looking more like a rotation risk. Martinelli has not worked out, obviously. Saka has struggled lately. Rashford has struggled all season, and I don't really see Rashford coming back into the fold as like a really good FPL pick at any point this season, because Man United are just struggling mightily, and especially Rashford. The defense, actually, I think will pick up, because I think Estupiñán is going to be really good going forward. Chilwell is going to be a nice differential if he keeps fit, but he's probably going to get injured again. Gabriel and Guardiola as well, I think, have pretty decent value for the end of the season. So yeah, I don't think the zombie squad is going to do too badly towards the end of the season, but yeah, so far not so good, I think. But let's look into what's going to happen for game 21 and beyond, and just look at the zombie squad in general and see how it's done so far, and how it would have done overall compared to my team and compared to the overall number 1 and compared to the best zombie squad, I guess, because yeah, we know how many points the best zombie squad would have had, as we saw at the start of this video. So yeah, this is the zombie squad for game week 21. Still obviously have Chilwell and Maddison out with injuries. Haaland probably out with injury as well, so most likely going to be another vice captaincy appearance for Martinelli against Crystal Palace at home. Not the worst, I guess. Maddison has to go out, and Chilwell has to go out, and probably Haaland as well. So we probably see Alvarez, João Pedro, and Udogie once again in the starting 11 for this team. Onana is actually playing in the game against Spurs, I think, before he goes to AFCON, which is really strange because Kudus had to leave early to go to AFCON, and Onana is staying up until 1 day before AFCON actually starts, which is weird. I don't know how they managed to do that, but yeah, in general, when it comes to my zombie squad, if I had picked this squad from the start of the season and just let it be for until now, it would have accumulated 989 points, which is obviously not the best. It's 221 points behind my own team, and also 367 points behind the world number 1. And if we do some quick maths, it's basically 416 points behind what could have been the potential best zombie squad, as we showed at the start of the season. So yeah, not the best team. Pretty happy about some of the picks, I think, in general, before the start of the season. I think Udogie was a really nice pick. I think Estepinian was obviously a really nice pick. I think Gabriel is going to be a really nice pick at the end of the season. Madison as well. Not a lot of people had a lot of faith in Spurs this season, but I actually foresaw Spurs being a decent team, so I actually had Madison from game week 1 as a potential season keeper, basically. As you can see, Haaland, which was pretty much a no-brainer, but obviously Salah would have been the better pick. He's cheaper and has actually scored more than Haaland so far, even points per match wise as well. I actually looked at that for the best zombie squad, and Haaland obviously played from game week 1 until game week 15, and then he hasn't played since then. And I looked at the potential to have Haaland as captain and Salah as vice captain, and if that would have helped me with points. But from game week 1 through game week 15, Salah actually outscored Haaland by 2 measly points. So yeah, Salah has just been a better pick than Haaland, but both of them have been viable picks as like zombie squad members, as you can see from the best zombie squad at the start of this video. Chilwell, I think, was someone with a lot of hype at the start of the season, and as a potential pick, like, he was pretty disappointing even before he got injured as well. And I think that was sort of a mistake. Like, you can't really trust Chilwell, especially with his injuries. But I think just Chelsea players in general, Chelsea defenders have historically at least been pretty good zombie squad potential players. We've seen that with Marcos Alonso, for example. Chilwell has made the zombie squad himself one of the past couple seasons. Aspilicueta, I think, way back in like 17-18, had a really good season as a zombie squad pick. So yeah, I don't really begrudge going with Chilwell either. Guardiola, kind of disappointed with him, and obviously the Arsenal, Man United midfielders, pretty disappointed with them in general. I had a lot of faith in Rashford and Saka at the start of the season as like just safe picks, but you can't really trust Rashford. That's what we've seen so far. Saka, not so much. He's actually been decent this season, but just not quite good enough compared to the lower priced guys like Palmer and Hwang, and also not compared to the higher priced Son and Salah as well. He hasn't really been as good as them. But yeah, in general, decent zombie squad. I think not the worst prediction. Having Alvarez coming off the bench basically every week has been decent as well. He's been one of the best strikers so far this season. I think it's basically just Haaland, Watkins, Solanke, who has scored more points than Alvarez so far this season. So pretty happy with the Alvarez pick as well, seeing that happen. And Joe Pedro, I think it's going to be a decent pick going forward as well. At the start of the season, he was more like rotational risk, but I think he's actually a pretty good pick now. If you're playing now currently and you're not with the zombie squad and you can actually do changes, I think Joao Pedro would be a pretty good transfer right about now if you need a striker. So yeah, I think he's a decent pick as well. So in general, I think it was like a decently picked zombie squad at the start of the season, but it just hasn't worked out that well because of injuries, because of some stupid decision, as for example vice captaining Martinelli, not the best decision, not having Salah. A couple of mistakes I did at the start of the season, but yeah, it's hard to predict with this type of zombie squad. But I know some people even in my community actually do this zombie squad style of play. I know someone who joined the mini league that I have actually joined with one of his zombie squad teams. So it'll be really nice to see if you're still watching these types of videos. If you're in a zombie squad league yourself, comment down below how well you've done so far, because it would have been really nice to see how my zombie squad compares to everyone else's zombie squad if you're actually playing it this way. Because yeah, my own team, 989 points, 5,191,450 in total, which yeah, not the worst, not the best. It's better than my dad actually, which is interesting. But yeah, not the best either, obviously. But it's really tough to pick a zombie squad, so I'm really interested to hear if your zombie squad is doing better so far. But yeah, if you found this video enjoyable, please leave it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It'd be really nice to see. I'm gonna keep doing these zombie squads occasionally throughout the season up until game week 38, when I'm gonna go through this zombie squad, my own zombie squad, and see how it did for the season. And we're also going to see in game week 38 if the best zombie squad this season actually would have been able to get number 1 overall. Because if you go back and look at my previous zombie squad videos, where I looked at historical zombie squads, in some seasons you can actually win FPL without doing a single transfer from game week, or single change in general from game week 1 through game week 38. Not using a single chip, single transfer, single change, or anything like that. So it'd be interesting to see if you could have done this season as well. Obviously, I don't think the best zombie squad, the one that we looked at the start of the video, I don't think this is going to last throughout the season. There's going to be changes. Anderson probably going to drop out at some point because yeah, he's just not performing currently. Chimikas obviously is injured. He's not going to play that much. He's going to drop out of the zombie squad throughout the end of the season, I think. But I think there are some picks here that have some pretty high potential of being in the best potential zombie squad when we come to Game Week 38 and we wrap up everything. I think Salah, obviously, again, he just seems like he's going to be the best value pick. He's probably going to be the best value captain as well. I think Haaland's going to be in the zombie squad as well. Son, good likelihood, but now he's going to be out a couple game weeks and stuff with the Asian Cup. Spurs have some blanks, so maybe he's not going to be the best pick at the end of the season. Watkins seems like a really good value pick so far. Bowen, Hwang, Palmer obviously is going to be in the zombie squad, I think. The best potential zombie squad at the end of the season. It's going to be interesting to see the best goalkeepers as well. Maybe Areola Pickford is the ideal rotation. We'll see about that at the end of the season. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. That's pretty much it for me. And I'll see you next time. Bye.